What's up, agents? Zer here, welcome back to the lab, and today I want to go ahead and speculate how the smithing and fletching table may potentially work once Mojang actually implements their functionality into the game. Now, this is actually something that I'm sure you've probably already seen a few different videos of, but in case you're not familiar with this situation, once the Village and Pillage update came out, Mojang added a bunch of new blocks into the game, and they coincide with some other blocks that were already in the game in order to give villagers their professions, which, by the way, villagers got completely overhauled in Village and Pillage, and that's part of the reason why. There are two blocks that were added that villagers can interact with that Mojang has yet to add player functionality to them, at least as far as me recording this video, and that's these two blocks down here, the fletching table and the smithing table. And technically you can go ahead and craft these in survival mode, but as it currently stands, unless you are trying to actually use them with villagers, there's really no point in doing so because, well, as I said, Mojang is yet to go ahead and implement their functionality, and we as players, as of right now, are only left to speculate as to how they're supposed to work. As I said, there have been a few different videos, a ton of videos I should technically say, of people doing this exact same thing, and I can guarantee you I'm not going to be the last person to do this, at least up until Mojang actually adds them in. And I will go ahead and say before I get started, I actually did make some example UIs for these just as like basic explanations of how they could potentially work. These aren't obviously set in stone, but I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an idea of how I feel they may potentially work, so do keep this in mind. I will have links down in the description to these example UIs that I create if you guys happen to be interested in looking at maybe Mojang or maybe an add-on creator of some sort who happens to be watching this video wants to go ahead and use this for whatever you want. That's perfectly fine. I will go ahead and let you guys do that. And before we get started, if you guys enjoy this video and you happen to be new to the channel, make sure to hit that like and that subscribe button. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So first off, let's go ahead and discuss the fletching table. And if we go ahead and take a look around this, as you can tell, we have ourselves a bow and arrow on two opposing sides, and on the other two opposing sides we have ourselves another arrow and also a target block, which I do want to go ahead and mention this target just briefly because during Minecon Live 2019, Mojang announced that during the Nether update, they will be adding the target block into the game, which is pretty interesting. Essentially, you shoot an arrow into it and it tells you with a comparator output how close to the center you actually got. The lower the output, the farther from the center you are. But that's obviously not what I'm here to discuss. I'm here to discuss the fletching table. I just wanted to bring that up because this target on the fletching table actually reminded me of it. So just as a quick speculation, maybe potentially as soon as we get the target block alongside the Nether update, maybe we might get functionality. Obviously, we don't know that for sure, but we can always hope. But as far as the fletching table is concerned, this is what I kind of have in mind, and a lot of people who have speculated stuff like this have kind of like agreed on this in some respect, and that's to be able to make yourself tipped arrows a lot easier than you can currently. If you are on Java Edition, in order to make tipped arrows, you actually need to make lingering potions in order to do that. You need Dragon's Breath in order to get that. You need to go to the end, so on and so forth. Pretty complicated to go and do and not ideal in the slightest. And you only get 8 arrows out of it, which is really ineffective. And here on Bedrock Edition, which is what I play, we actually have it a little bit easier, but I still think that we're wasting a lot of materials to go ahead and do this. But what we have to do is we have to brew ourselves a potion, fill up a cauldron with our potions with a max up to 3, and then we just simply dip our arrows into that cauldron to get our tipped arrows. If we have 3 potions there, we can get a full stack. And that's actually pretty much it for how we currently are able to make tipped arrows. the way I feel like that we should be able to make tipped arrows with the fletching table, and this is something a lot of other people have actually speculated as well, is basically what I'm going to be showing you guys right now. You put in your arrows, and this can technically be less than a stack if you decide you want to. Not sure why you would, but that's not the point. And also your potion of choice, and you will get whatever amount of arrows that you put in at tipped arrows back. And technically speaking, once you remove those, you will get your empty glass bottle back, which obviously does make sense. But that's, again, like pretty much what everyone else has already kind of speculated how the fletching table would work. I do know that on Java Edition, this is a feature that Bedrock Edition does not have just yet for whatever reason. But on Java Edition, you can make spectral arrows, and if you go ahead and shoot a mob with it, it'll actually kind of glow so you can find it a little bit easier. I would like to believe that you can do that with the fletching table eventually as well. Not 100% sure about that, but might as well go ahead and guess that right now. Let's go ahead and move on to the smithing table. And for me personally, I feel like this is the one of the two blocks that people seem to disagree on what it's supposed to do. Or technically speaking, what I should say is they don't really have like a solid idea as to what to do. One thing that I've seen is that you can go ahead and repair your tools on it, which I'm not 100% sure you would go ahead and do. And another thing is a better way to enchant. Both of these, we already technically have blocks to go ahead and pull this off, the enchanting table and the anvil. But what I feel this could technically do, and actually before I go ahead and tell you guys what I think this should do, I should go ahead and mention exactly what the villagers actually do with this block. You will actually get an armorer if you use this block with a villager. And looking up the definition, armorer, technically speaking, doesn't just make armor. They actually do make tools and weapons as well. And if you were to look at the trading interface for an armor, you should technically see that. So I think potentially the smithing table would be able to make it much easier to craft your tools and armor. Now, the examples that I'm going to be showing you guys, I'm going to have two to go ahead and show you guys, and I'll explain them one at a time. I'm going to be using diamonds for all of these examples. Obviously, there are other materials that you will be able to use, but just a general idea for you guys. So first off, in this particular example, I have one stick and I have 2 diamonds in here. And as you can go ahead and tell, in this GUI, I can go ahead and craft a shovel, a sword, or a hoe. And technically speaking, I have selected the shovel, at least from this example I've made. And if you actually go ahead and craft this, you will lose the stick, but you will have 1 diamond left over. So technically speaking, it does know how many diamonds you have input. If you were to go ahead and put in 3 diamonds, for example, you can make any one of the tools of your choice. And this is kind to go alongside with the enchanting table, where it knows how much lapis that you put in, which determines what level of enchant you can go ahead and do. Obviously, that also requires experience level, but that's not what I'm trying to get at. Now, here is the second example I have right here, and that's creating armor. As you can tell, there are no sticks in this particular one, so none of the tools actually appear. But because I have 7 diamonds inside of here, I can craft boots, I can craft a helmet, which is why I have selected, or I can go ahead and craft a pair of leggings. And if I were to go and craft this helmet, I will have 2 diamonds left over after finishing crafting it. So that's kind of like what I have in mind. And if you happen to have both sticks and the diamonds inside of the actual smithing table itself, it'll show absolutely everything. I didn't have like a whole heck of a lot of room in the GUI that I made because I was using assets that I found already to go ahead and put this together, but hopefully the point gets across. I know for a fact that when I originally created this idea, I did not have armor in mind, and I was only using, well, going back to the diamond example, just a single diamond to go ahead and craft absolutely everything. You didn't need more than one diamond, you would still require one stick, technically speaking. I pretty much figured that was way too overpowered, and I talked with a couple other people, and they actually did kind of agree on that, so that's why I changed it to requiring more of the materials that I did. And so, yeah, that's kind of like what my idea is for the smithing table. Again, to make crafting this stuff a lot easier, because that's what a lot of these blocks that were implemented in Village and Pillage are supposed to do. Like the loom previously, if you want to craft yourself a banner, you had to use a ton of dye and create a convoluted crafting recipe inside the crafting table to make your patterns. Loom makes it a lot easier. And there's plenty of two other blocks, technically speaking, that I should go and mention. The cartography table for maps, and then the stone cutter for making stone types of blocks. So hopefully this concept does actually get across as far as the smithing table is concerned. And obviously, the idea that I have for the fletching table does make some amount of sense. And one final thing that I should mention, I actually completely forgot about this. If you have a Fletcher, a villager, you can go ahead and get yourself a bow or a crossbow from them by buying it. I think that could be viable potentially, but I'm not sure how to implement with the idea that I have in mind, which is why I did not show that off. Hopefully that makes some amount of sense. Maybe someone a little bit smarter than me might be able to figure that out, but that's just pretty much all I have in mind for these two blocks. And obviously, we're still technically waiting, at least as of right now, for Mojang to do this for us. And obviously, what I'm showing off isn't like what they have in mind. Again, we don't know what they have in mind. But yeah, other than that, this is actually where I'm going to go ahead and end off the video. Actually, before I go ahead and do, let me know down in the comment section below how you feel about the suggestions that I'm personally giving. And if Mojang happens to find this video and they like this, then you guys are more than welcome to use this. If you have a completely different idea, go right ahead. But yeah, this is where I'm going to go ahead and end things off. So, hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you did, make sure that like button. One more, make sure that subscribe button for future content. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at AgentCPU0 to stay updated. This has been Zer0's. Thank you guys for watching, and with that, I'll see you guys later.